Woman, how many times have you found yourself trying to prove who you are, trying to be seen, noticed, recognized, as if every look from others was a verdict on your worth? This invisible race is what keeps so many women trapped in insecurity. They believe confidence comes from the outside, from compliments, applause, likes, from the fleeting glow of being validated. But the truth is different. Real confidence is not born when the world applauds you, but when you learn to silence the need for approval. Carl Jung believed that inside every woman lies a dormant power, suffocated by fear of rejection and comparison. When this power awakens, insecurity loses its grip. What you are about to discover is not just a change in behavior. It's a shift so profound it can redefine how you see yourself, how you speak, how you walk, how you live. Get ready. The confident woman already exists within you, she just needs to be called out. The hidden weight of insecurity. Insecurity is not something that suddenly appears in a woman's life. It is a weight that gathers slowly, like dust that settles each day until the room feels heavy. It begins as a small doubt, a quiet voice that asks if you are enough. Over time, that voice gets louder. It colors how you see your face, how you read a message, how you enter a room. What was once a whisper becomes a lens that bends every experience toward fear. This weight lives in the body as much as in the mind. Shoulders lift, breath shortens, words come out softer than intended. Decisions take longer, sleep does not rest. The day starts already tired because a silent effort is spent on managing worry. You try to look calm, but inside there is a constant scan for signs that you may not belong, that you may not be chosen, that someone may think less of you. Carl Jung taught that what remains unconscious directs a life until it becomes conscious. Insecurity often hides as just the way I am. It moves your choices from the shadows. You avoid a chance because you fear being judged. You accept less than you want because you fear being called difficult. You double-check, then check again because you fear being wrong. The pattern repeats and the weight grows even when no one else can see it. Many roots are old. A childhood comparison, a teacher's careless remark, a parent too busy to notice a small victory. None of these moments looked large, but they shaped an inner story. I must prove my worth to be safe. That story becomes an engine that never stops. It pushes you to please, to fix, to explain. Even praise cannot calm it for long because the story demands new proof tomorrow. There is also a social mirror that adds pressure. Images and rules suggest what a worthy woman should look like, own, or achieve. The mirror is made by others, yet it sits in your mind. When you measure yourself by it, you hand away your authority. If the mirror smiles, you feel good. If it frowns, you feel small. This is the hidden trait of insecurity. Control of your mood is placed in places you cannot control. The first shift is gentle and firm. Name the weight. Say, this is insecurity, not truth. When you name it, you create a small space between you and the feeling. In that space, you can choose. You can breathe. You can ask, what would I do now if I trusted myself? This question is simple and strong. It invites action from the self, not from fear. Next, return your attention to the body. Place your feet on the ground. Feel the breath move low and slow. Relax the jaw. Lower the shoulders. The body teaches the mind that safety is here. A calm body lends courage to a doubtful mind. Over days, this practice reduces the charge that has been feeding old stories. It does not erase history, but it weakens the hook. Then practice small acts of self-loyalty. Speak one clear sentence when you would have stayed silent. Ask one honest question when you would have guessed. Choose one boundary and keep it. These are not loud moves. They are steady steps that tell your nervous system, I can rely on me. Confidence is built from kept promises to oneself. Each kept promise removes a little weight. Invite the shadow into the light with kindness. If envy or fear appears, do not shame it. Say, you are part of me and you want to protect me. Thank it and then lead. Jung's view was that wholeness, not perfection, is the goal. When you stop fighting parts of yourself, you free energy for living. Finally, redirect attention from proving to creating. Ask, what do I want to make, love, learn, or serve? Action with meaning dissolves the habit of checking how you look while you live. You will still feel doubt at times. That is human. But it will no longer run the day. The hidden weight becomes lighter, then light enough to set down, and in that space a steady confidence begins to rise. Confidence is not a shout. It is a quiet posture that grows as you act with values. It is the calm yes and the clean no. Practice this daily and the weight loosens, lifts, and you stay free. The mirror that distorts who you are. A mirror is meant to reflect reality, yet insecurity makes the mirror a trickster. Instead of showing what is true, it bends the image. You look and see flaws larger than they are. You compare yourself with others and feel smaller, thinner, weaker, less worthy. The reflection is not neutral. It is colored by fear, by memory, by the voices of the past that told you who you should be. This is the distorted mirror, and many women stare at it daily without even realizing it. Carl Jung spoke about projection, the way the mind casts inner beliefs onto the outer world. The distorted mirror is a projection of doubt. When a woman believes she is not enough, she projects that belief onto everything she sees. A smile from another woman becomes a threat. A silence in a conversation becomes rejection. A photo on social media becomes proof that others are more beautiful, more loved, more successful. The mirror takes what is neutral and paints it with insecurity. The danger of this distorted mirror is that it feels convincing. When you see yourself through it, the flaws seem real. The comparison feels accurate. The judgment looks true, but in reality, the mirror is broken. It does not reflect who you are. It reflects what you fear. This creates a cycle. The more you believe the mirror, the more insecurity grows. The more insecurity grows, the more distorted the mirror becomes. Think of the woman who cannot accept a compliment. When someone says, "You look beautiful," she immediately answers, "No, I look tired." The mirror of insecurity twists even kindness into suspicion. Or the woman who posts something online, then deletes it after 1 hour because it did not get enough likes. The distorted mirror convinced her that silence meant rejection. In both cases, the truth was never the problem. The problem was the mirror through which she looked. Jung's work invites us to face the shadow, the parts of ourselves we do not want to see. The distorted mirror shows not your face, but your shadow. If you believe you are not intelligent, the mirror will magnify every mistake. If you believe you are not lovable, the mirror will highlight every silence. The shadow is not the enemy. It is a call to awareness. By naming the distortion, you begin to take back your reflection. One way to heal the mirror is to practice seeing without judgment. Look into a real mirror and notice the first thought that comes. Perhaps it is criticism. Do not fight it. Simply add another truth beside it. I see tired eyes, and I also see strength that carried me through today. I see wrinkles, and I also see a face that has laughed and cried deeply. The practice is not to erase flaws, but to widen the frame. You are more than what insecurity shows. Another step is to reduce comparison. The distorted mirror thrives on measuring yourself against others. Each scroll online becomes a silent exam you believe you fail. To break this, choose moments to step away. Replace comparison with creation. Instead of asking, "How do I look next to her?" ask, "What can I create, express, or live today that is true to me?" When you live in action, the mirror loses its grip. Confidence begins when you realize the mirror lies. You are not smaller than others. You are not unworthy because of silence. You are not defined by likes or by glances. Those are reflections bent by insecurity, not reality. Jung said that until we make the unconscious conscious, it will rule our lives. The distorted mirror is unconscious fear given form. Once you name it, you begin to free yourself. Picture the moment you clean a fogged glass. The shape was always there, but you could not see it clearly. In the same way, your worth was always present. The mirror was simply fogged by fear, shame, and doubt. As you wipe it clean with awareness, kindness, and truth, the reflection grows clearer. You begin to recognize the woman you truly are. Not perfect, but whole, strong, and alive. The distorted mirror does not disappear overnight. It will still try to pull you back into old comparisons, but each time you notice it and choose not to believe it, the distortion weakens. With practice, the true mirror appears, one that reflects not insecurity, but the fullness of your soul. That is when confidence begins to feel natural, because you are no longer at war with your own reflection. If you want to go deeper, explore the Jung method. It reveals the hidden patterns behind insecurity and shows you how to awaken real confidence. Link pinned in the first comment. How fear steals your voice. Fear has a quiet way of entering a woman's life. It does not always arrive with loud alarms. Sometimes it walks in softly, almost invisible, until you notice that your words no longer come out the way they once did. What was natural becomes difficult. You hesitate before speaking. You think twice, then 3 times until the moment has already passed. This is how fear steals the voice. not by force but by slowly convincing you to silence yourself. Carl Jung explained that fear is often rooted in the unconscious. The mind holds old memories of rejection, judgment, or shame. When a new moment arises that feels similar, the old fear is triggered. You want to speak, but your body remembers the sting of being laughed at, the weight of being ignored, or the burn of being criticized. The present moment becomes linked with a past wound, and the voice retreats before it even has a chance to rise. Fear also plays tricks with imagination. Before you open your mouth, the mind shows a picture of how badly it could go. You imagine someone rolling their eyes or dismissing your words. You see failure before you even try. These imagined outcomes may never happen, but the body reacts as if they are real. The heart races, the throat tightens, and silence feels safer than risk. In this way, fear steals opportunities that were never truly dangerous. The theft of the voice shows itself in small, everyday ways. You sit in a group and agree with something you do not fully believe just to avoid conflict. You accept an extra task you cannot handle because you are afraid of saying no. You laugh when someone makes a comment that hurts because silence feels easier than honesty. Each time you give away your voice, the fear grows stronger. It learns that silence keeps you safe, even though it also keeps you invisible. But safety is not the same as living. Jung believed that the psyche longs for wholeness, and wholeness requires expression. When you silence yourself, a part of you remains hidden in the shadows. Over time, this hidden self grows restless. It may show up as anxiety, as frustration, or as sadness you cannot explain. The voice you deny yourself does not disappear. It waits, pressing from within, asking to be heard. The first step to reclaiming your voice is to notice the fear, not with judgment but with honesty. Say to yourself, I am afraid of being rejected. I am afraid of being wrong. I am afraid of not being liked. Naming fear brings it into the light, and what is brought into the light begins to lose its control. Silence without awareness strengthens fear. Silence with awareness is the beginning of freedom. Start with small acts of speech. Share one thought in a conversation where you would normally stay quiet. Express one opinion without apologizing for it. Practice saying no in situations where you cannot give more. These small steps tell your nervous system, I can speak and still be safe. With time, each step builds a new pattern, one where the voice and the self stand together. Breath is also a key. Fear tightens the body, especially the throat and chest. Before you speak, breathe deeply, slowly, and fully. Feel the ground under your feet. Imagine your words flowing with the breath, not forced but steady. This simple act calms the body and gives space for the voice to rise. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to speak even when fear whispers to stay silent. It is also helpful to remember that not every response defines you. If someone disagrees or criticizes, it does not mean you are wrong. It only means you expressed yourself. Confidence does not come from being right all the time. It comes from knowing that your voice matters even when others do not agree. Jung believed that individuality requires courage, the courage to be yourself in a world that pressures you to conform. Reclaiming your voice is not about shouting louder than others. It is about trusting that what you carry inside deserves expression. Your thoughts, your feelings, your truth, they are not accidents. They are parts of you seeking to be whole. Each time you choose to speak with honesty, you invite more of yourself into the light. Each time you break the silence, you weaken the hold of fear. Over time, the voice that was once stolen returns. It becomes steady, calm, and confident. It does not need to prove or please. It simply expresses what is true. And when a woman speaks from this place, fear no longer steals her voice. Instead, her voice becomes her strength, her presence, and her freedom. The invisible prison of comparison. Comparison is one of the most common traps for women, yet it is also one of the hardest to notice. It builds slowly like invisible walls. You do not see them, but you feel their presence. You scroll through photos, hear someone's story, or watch another woman walk into a room, and suddenly you feel smaller. The invisible prison of comparison is not made of bricks or bars, but of constant measuring, of holding your life against someone else's and finding yourself lacking. Carl Jung spoke often about how projection shapes our experience. Comparison is a projection of doubt. When you are unsure of your worth, you begin to measure it by looking outward. You see another woman's beauty and decide yours is less. You see her success and believe your efforts mean nothing. You see her relationship and assume you are behind. Each time you compare, you surrender a little piece of your freedom to the mirror of someone else's life. The prison is invisible because it feels natural. Society even teaches comparison as normal. From a young age, women hear comments like, "She is prettier than you," or "Look how well she did, why can't you?" These words plant seeds. As adults, those seeds grow into habits of constant evaluation. The invisible prison becomes part of daily thought. You wake up already thinking about how you measure against others. You go to bed replaying what you lacked. The cost of this prison is heavy. It steals joy from achievements. You may succeed at something, but the moment you compare it to someone else's success, the joy fades. It also creates endless dissatisfaction. No matter what you do, there is always someone ahead in some area. The more you look outward, the less you value what is within. This constant cycle keeps many women trapped in self-doubt, even when they have reasons to feel proud. Jung believed that wholeness comes from embracing your unique path. Comparison denies that path. It makes you believe there is only one standard, one way to be beautiful, successful, or worthy. But in truth, each woman carries her own rhythm, her own timing, her own story. The prison of comparison blinds you to that uniqueness. Instead of walking your road, you try to walk in another's shadow. And no one can feel confident while living in a shadow. The first step to escape this prison is awareness. Notice when comparison appears. Ask yourself, am I truly lacking, or am I only measuring myself against someone else's highlight? Often, the feeling of failure is not about your reality, but about the distorted image of another's life. Social media in particular feeds this illusion. People show their best moments, not their struggles. Comparing your whole life to their selected snapshots is not only unfair, it is false. Another step is gratitude. When you focus on what you already have, the grip of comparison weakens. Write down simple truths. I am grateful for my health, my voice, my experiences, my lessons. Gratitude shifts the lens. It does not erase ambition, but it stops the habit of measuring everything through others. Instead, it grounds you in the value of your own journey. Self-compassion is also key. Women often compare harshly because they treat themselves like enemies. But confidence grows when you learn to speak to yourself with the same kindness you would give a friend. When you stumble, instead of saying, "She would have done better," say, "I am learning, and that is enough." This small change builds resilience against the pressure of comparison. Most of all, remember that confidence is not built in competition but in authenticity. Your worth does not increase when someone else fails, and it does not decrease when someone else shines. The invisible prison tells you there is not enough space for all women to succeed, but reality proves the opposite. Each woman who embraces her confidence makes more room for others to do the same. Freedom is contagious. The invisible prison of comparison loses its power when you stop feeding it. Every time you choose gratitude, kindness, and authenticity, the walls weaken. Each moment you celebrate your own steps instead of measuring them against another's, the bars bend. And one day you realize there were never real walls, only illusions created by doubt. You are free to walk, free to rise, free to be confident without needing to compete. When doubt becomes a habit, doubt is natural in small doses. It helps us pause before a risky choice, check our steps, or think twice before acting. But when doubt stops being occasional and begins to live inside every decision, it no longer serves protection. It becomes a habit, one that weakens confidence at its roots. For many women, this habit grows so slowly that it feels like personality. They do not realize that self-questioning, second-guessing, and hesitation are not who they are, but patterns they have repeated for years. Carl Jung described how repeated thoughts form deep grooves in the psyche. Just as water carves valleys into stone, doubt carves paths into the mind. At first, it is just one uncertain thought. Am I good enough? Then it is another. What if I fail? Over time, these questions repeat so often that the mind follows them automatically. Before speaking, before acting, before even imagining something new, the pattern of doubt runs first. It becomes the default lens. When doubt is a habit, even simple choices feel heavy. Picking clothes, speaking in a meeting, deciding how to respond to a message, all are slowed by the inner voice asking if it is the right choice. This constant hesitation drains energy. It makes life exhausting, not because tasks are hard, but because each task requires a battle with uncertainty. The habit of doubt steals vitality as much as it steals confidence. The danger is that doubt begins to disguise itself as humility. A woman may think she is simply careful, thoughtful, or modest. But beneath those labels, the reality is fear. She is not simply considering her options. She is trapped by the need to find certainty before acting. And since certainty never fully arrives, she hesitates endlessly. This cycle keeps her stuck, unable to move forward with freedom. Jung believed that habits of thought could be transformed through awareness. To break the habit of doubt, a woman must first see how automatic it has become. Notice how quickly the mind jumps to "what if I'm wrong?" or "what if they judge me?" Write these thoughts down, not to believe them, but to reveal the pattern. Once exposed, the habit loses part of its hidden power. The next step is to replace endless questioning with small acts of trust. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" try asking, "What will I learn if it goes differently than planned?" This shifts the frame from fear to growth. Instead of needing certainty, you allow space for discovery. Doubt thrives on the illusion that every action must be perfect. Confidence grows when you accept that mistakes are not threats but teachers. Another powerful practice is decision-making with limits. Give yourself a set time to choose. For example, "I will decide this in 10 minutes and not revisit it." This teaches the mind that action matters more than perfect certainty. Over time, these small commitments build trust in your ability to act. Each decision made without overthinking strengthens the belief that you are capable, even when the outcome is unknown. The body also plays a role in breaking the habit. Doubt often shows up as tightness in the chest, a shallow breath, or a restless stomach. When you notice these signals, pause and breathe slowly. Tell your body, "I am safe to choose." This simple ritual interrupts the automatic link between fear and decision. It reminds both mind and body that you are not in danger, only in uncertainty. And uncertainty is survivable. It is also important to remember that confidence does not mean never doubting. It means not letting doubt control you. A confident woman still hears the inner question, but she chooses to move anyway. She knows her worth is not at risk with every choice. She trusts that she can handle outcomes, whether smooth or rough. Doubt becomes a voice in the background, not the driver of her life. When doubt becomes a habit, it feels permanent. But habits are learned, and what is learned can be unlearned. With awareness, practice, and patience, the mind can carve new grooves. Instead of "what if I fail?" the thought becomes "what if I succeed?" Instead of "what if they judge me?" it becomes "what if they understand me?" The pattern shifts, and with it, the woman's life. Jung taught that freedom begins when the unconscious becomes conscious. When you see doubt not as your identity but as a habit, you step into freedom. Each small act of trust, each brave choice, each moment of silence broken, weakens the hold of doubt. And slowly, the habit of hesitation is replaced by a habit of confidence, steady, grounded, and real. The awakening of self-confidence. Confidence is not something that falls from the sky one morning. It is not a gift handed out to some women and denied to others. It is a process, an awakening that happens step by step. For many women, insecurity has been the default for so long that the idea of waking up confident feels impossible. But Carl Jung believed that within every person lies an inner potential waiting to be realized. Confidence is not added from outside. It is uncovered from within. The awakening of self-confidence begins with awareness. You notice the patterns that have held you back, the doubts, the comparisons, the silence, the fear. Instead of letting these patterns run your life unconsciously, you start to observe them. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Insecurity often feels like fate, as if some women are simply born confident and others are not. But the truth is that insecurity is a pattern, and patterns can change. This awakening is not loud at first. It begins with small shifts. You decide to speak when you would have stayed quiet. You hold your shoulders higher even if your heart still beats fast. You remind yourself that worth is not proven by applause but by existence itself. These moments may seem small, but they are seeds. And when you water them with repetition, they grow into the roots of confidence. A key part of awakening confidence is moving attention inward. Insecurity keeps the gaze fixed outward. What do they think? How do I look? Am I enough in their eyes? Confidence, however, grows when you anchor yourself in your own center. You ask instead, what do I think? What do I want? How do I feel? This shift may seem subtle, but it changes everything. When you live by your own compass, the opinions of others lose their power to shake you. The awakening also requires courage. Confidence does not mean never feeling fear. It means choosing despite it. The confident woman still feels nerves before speaking, but she speaks. She still notices others' success, but she does not diminish her own. She still faces uncertainty, but she steps forward anyway. Each courageous act rewires the mind. The body learns, I can survive fear. And with survival comes strength. Jung taught that symbols carry power. For many women, confidence awakens through symbols they claim as their own. It may be a word repeated daily, a gesture of posture, a ritual of breath. These symbols remind the unconscious of its strength. They become anchors in moments of doubt. Over time, they teach the psyche to associate action with safety and presence with power. The awakening of self-confidence is also tied to self-acceptance. Insecurity often grows from the belief that parts of you must be hidden. You think, if they knew my flaws, they would not accept me. So you cover, pretend, or shrink. But confidence rises when you embrace wholeness. Jung's concept of individuation speaks exactly to this, becoming whole, not perfect. The woman who awakens confidence does not deny her flaws. She accepts them, integrates them, and moves with them. Her strength is not in being flawless, but in being whole. Another element is practice. Confidence is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Speak daily, even if only a little. Choose daily, even if small. Stand tall daily, even if no one sees. These repeated actions tell your nervous system, I am capable. The more evidence you give yourself, the more natural confidence feels. Over time, what was once effort becomes habit. The awakening also changes relationships. When you live insecurely, you often attract dynamics that feed that insecurity. Partners who criticize, friends who compete, environments that demand more than they give. But when you awaken confidence, you begin to set boundaries. You stop accepting less than you deserve. You surround yourself with those who respect you. And in doing so, you create a circle that supports confidence instead of draining it. Finally, the awakening of self-confidence is not a finish line, but a way of living. There will still be moments of doubt, fear, or insecurity, but they no longer define you. They are passing clouds, not permanent storms. Confidence is the steady sky behind them. Each time you return to your inner center, you remind yourself that the power was always there waiting for you to claim it. This awakening is a homecoming. It is the moment you stop searching outside and realize that everything you needed was already within. It is the shift from proving to simply being, from hiding to shining, from fear to freedom. And once you taste it, you never want to go back. The power of truly seeing yourself. To see yourself may sound simple, but for many women, it is one of the hardest tasks of all. Most women do not see themselves as they truly are. They see themselves through the eyes of others, through the distorted mirror of insecurity, through the lens of comparison, through the weight of doubt. They measure their reflection against external standards and call that vision the truth. But true vision is different. To truly see yourself is to strip away the illusions, the shadows, the masks, and to meet the woman who has been waiting underneath all along. Carl Jung believed that the greatest journey a person can make is inward. He taught that wholeness comes not from pretending, but from integrating every part of the self. To truly see yourself means to step into this inner journey. It requires courage to face not only your strengths, but also your weaknesses, your fears, and your shadows. Yet the reward is freedom. The kind of confidence that cannot be shaken because it is built on truth rather than image. The power of truly seeing yourself begins with awareness. Awareness is like a light shining into a dark room. At first, you may not like what you see. You may notice flaws, regrets, or patterns you tried to hide. But if you stay with the light, you realize that these parts are not enemies. They are parts of your story. They explain why you think the way you do, why you feel what you feel. Seeing them clearly allows you to work with them instead of against them. Most insecurity grows because women see themselves only in fragments. They focus on one flaw, one mistake, one failure, and forget the rest. They define themselves by what they lack instead of by the whole picture. To truly see yourself is to widen the view. It is to remember that you are more than your appearance, more than your past, more than your mistakes. You are a whole being, complex and alive. Confidence grows when you see the whole, not just the parts. Another aspect of seeing yourself truly is letting go of borrowed visions. Families, cultures, and societies often place labels on women. You should be this, you must do that, you cannot be this way. These labels shape how women see themselves. They internalize voices that do not belong to them. The power of true vision is to notice which voices are yours and which are borrowed. When you recognize the borrowed voices, you can return them. You no longer need to carry the weight of someone else's expectations. Jung often spoke about the shadow, the hidden parts of the self that are denied or rejected. Many women hide their ambition, their anger, their sexuality, or their independence because they fear judgment. To truly see yourself is to bring these shadows into the light with honesty. You say, yes, I am ambitious. Yes, I have anger. Yes, I have desires. Yes, I want freedom. When you see these truths without shame, they stop controlling you in secret. Instead, they become part of your wholeness, and in that wholeness, confidence awakens. The power of truly seeing yourself is also about recognizing your gifts. Insecurity makes you blind to them. You dismiss your strengths as luck, or you assume they are not special. But when you truly see yourself, you begin to notice the talents, the resilience, the wisdom that life has shaped in you. You see not only where you struggle, but also where you shine. This balanced vision is the foundation of healthy confidence. You are not blind to your flaws, but you are also not blind to your strengths. Practices like journaling, reflection, or meditation can help open this vision. Write down your honest thoughts, even the ones you hide. Sit in silence and notice what feelings rise. Ask yourself, what am I afraid to see in me? Then allow the answer to come. These simple practices teach you to face yourself with honesty instead of judgment. And every moment of honesty weakens insecurity, because insecurity thrives on illusions, not truth. When you truly see yourself, relationships also change. You no longer depend on others to define you. Compliments feel nice but are not required. Criticism may sting but does not destroy you. Approval is welcome but not necessary. You relate to others not from a place of need, but from a place of wholeness. Confidence grows naturally when you no longer beg the world to tell you who you are. The power of truly seeing yourself is liberation. It is the moment you stop running from your reflection and start embracing it. It is the day you realize that the woman you have been seeking, confident, strong, free, has been with you all along. She was simply waiting for you to look closely enough to recognize her. And once you do, no distorted mirror, no harsh comparison, no old doubt can take that vision away. It becomes your anchor, your truth, your confidence. The woman who is born after insecurity. There comes a moment when the old ways no longer fit. The doubts, the comparisons, the fears that once felt natural begin to feel too heavy, too limiting, too false. This moment is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet, like a breath taken after years of holding back. Other times it feels like a breaking point, when a woman finally says enough. Either way, it marks the birth of a new self, the woman who rises after insecurity. Carl Jung often described transformation as a process of death and rebirth. Old patterns must die for new possibilities to live. The insecure self is not destroyed violently, but it slowly loses its hold as awareness grows. The woman begins to notice the lies she once believed, that her worth depended on others, that her voice did not matter, that her flaws defined her. Each time she refuses these lies, she makes space for a new identity. This identity is not built on insecurity but on truth. The woman born after insecurity does not chase approval. She enjoys recognition, but she no longer depends on it. She speaks without rehearsing every word. She acts without waiting for permission. Her life is guided not by the fear of being judged, but by the desire to live authentically. This shift does not mean she never feels doubt or fear again. It means she has learned to move even with them present. Doubt no longer paralyzes. Fear no longer silences. She carries them as part of her humanity, but not as her masters. This reborn woman carries a calm power. It is not loud or aggressive. It is steady, like a flame that does not flicker even when the wind blows. People notice it not because she demands attention, but because she radiates presence. Her confidence is felt in the way she walks, the way she listens, the way she decides. It is not a performance. It is simply who she has become. Jung believed that individuation, the process of becoming whole, creates this kind of presence. It cannot be faked because it grows from integration, not imitation. Relationships change as well. The woman who once accepted less than she deserved now sets boundaries with clarity. She knows her value, so she no longer begs for love. She chooses connections that honor her worth, and she lets go of those that drain her. This does not make her cold. It makes her free. She gives love more fully because it comes from abundance, not from desperation. Her presence becomes a gift rather than a plea. The woman born after insecurity also embraces her flaws. She no longer hides them as if they erase her value. Instead, she sees them as part of her humanity, as teachers and companions. She does not pretend to be perfect because perfection is not the goal. Wholeness is. And wholeness includes both light and shadow. Jung's wisdom reminds us that when we embrace the shadow, we unlock energy that was once trapped in denial. This energy becomes creativity, courage, and authenticity. Another sign of this new self is how she relates to her own achievements. Insecurity used to diminish every success, saying, "It is not enough," or "Anyone could have done this." The reborn woman celebrates her steps no matter how small. She knows progress is progress. She recognizes effort, not just results. And by doing so, she creates a cycle of growth instead of a cycle of doubt. Confidence grows because it is fed daily by gratitude and acknowledgement. The birth of the confident woman is not a single event, but an unfolding. Each day she chooses to live by truth rather than fear. Each day she chooses authenticity over approval. Each day she chooses to act, even when insecure thoughts whisper in the background. With every choice, the insecure self fades further, and the confident self takes deeper root. This is not the end of her journey, but the beginning of a new way of living, one where she finally feels at home in her own skin. This transformation does not only change her, it inspires others. Her presence gives silent permission for other women to step out of their insecurities too. Confidence spreads. Freedom echoes. And slowly, the world around her shifts, not because she demanded it, but because she embodied it. The woman who is born after insecurity is not a fantasy. She is you. Once you stop carrying what was never yours to carry, she is the self that has been waiting patiently beneath the layers of fear. She is already here, ready to rise as soon as you let go. When you understand this, you realize insecurity was never your identity, only a chapter. The woman who walks forward now is confident, whole, and free, and she was within you all along.